Now, this video is really only for those that are realistically going to get an A star or an A. And this is simultaneous equations with non-linear graphs. So this is a straight line graph. It's y equals mx plus c. But this is a quadratic graph, which means it's a parabola. And we're going to have 2 intersection points rather than 1. And this one's a circular graph with a radius of 6. So again, we're going to have 2, or I say 2, but it could be 1, or it could be none, in fact, if it doesn't work. So this is a little bit different. We're not going to, as soon as you see squares or cubes or anything, you're not going to think about elimination. You're going to think about substitution. So you can see here that this is equal to y, and so is this. Or y is equal to that, and y is equal to that. So therefore, because they're the same letter, it means these are the same, which means these must equal each other. So 4x minus 2 is equal to x squared plus 1. Now, I've got an equation with a quadratic in, so I need to think about how to solve quadratic equations. So I'm going to get everything on one side, and because the x squared's here, I'm going to get everything on this side, because I don't want to deal with a negative x squared. So I'm going to remove this, that'd be minus 4x on both sides. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides, which makes this one a 3. Now, if you don't like it this way round, you can just quickly rewrite it the other way round. I know most of my students prefer everything to be on the left. So I'm trying to factorize it now, and there's nothing common to each term, so I know it's a double bracket factorizing. You still get normal single bracket ones, so just be aware which type of factorizing it is. There is only a single coefficient of x, so I know it's x and x. This is prime, so it has to be 3 and 1, but how do I use these to make minus 4x? Minus 1 and minus 3x will make my minus 4x, and the constant terms multiplied together will give me 3. Now, I've shown you in a previous video, if you get this, this means x take away 3 is equal to 0, so this bracket is equal to 0, and the other bracket is equal to 0, so x therefore must be 3, and x therefore must be 1. You can just swap the signs over. So if x is 3 and x is 1, we're now going to try and find out what the y value is. So I'm going to use the first equation because it's so much easier. So y is 4 lots of x take away 2. So when x is 3, 4 lots of 3 is 12 take away 2, so y must be 10. And when x is 1, well, it's going to be 4 lots of 1, which is 4 take away 2, so therefore y must be 2. So what this means is these two graphs intersect at 3, 10, and they intersect at 1, 2. Let's just double check it in the other one. So if x is 3, 3 squared plus 1 is 10, and my y was 10, so that works. When x is 1, 1 squared is 1, plus 1 is 2, and that's what I had. So I know I'm 100% correct. Now let's look at this one. This one's slightly different because they're not equal to the same thing, so I can't start like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange just to make either the y or the x the subject, and because this is a negative, it makes sense to get rid of that. So if I plus x to both sides, I end up with this. So I know an expression in terms of y. So here's a y, but instead of writing a y, I can write that, because they're the same thing. I'll just go over that again. So it says x squared plus y squared, so I've got x squared, but instead of writing y squared, I can write this because this is equal to y. Now, my advice is to write it out like this, depending how fluent you are with your expanding. So we have x squared here. Expand this bracket, so x squared, 6x and another 6x. I can draw the lines if you want. That's 12x. And that would give me a positive 36. So eventually we've ended up with something along these lines, so a quadratic equation. So let's tidy this up. That's 2x squared plus 12x, and we have to get everything on one side, so I'm going to subtract 36, which means they would go. Okay, so this has something common to both terms, so I know it's not a double bracket, and therefore it is a single bracket. What is the highest common factor? Well, you can see there's a 2 and an x common to both, so 2 is the highest number factor, and x is also a factor. I need another x to make 2x squared, and I need a 6 there. So just like I did here, this bracket was equal to 0. So this term, I could put a bracket around it if you want to, but that's a bit weird. So 2x is equal to 0, and x plus 6 is equal to 0. Half both sides, therefore x is 0, and therefore x equals minus 6. So we're going to substitute it into these two. So let's start with the first one. So y take away x, so x is 0. So 6 take away 0 is 6. So we've got the first one. And y take away, well, minus 6 is equal to 6. That's the same as y plus 6 is 6. Take away 6 from both sides, y is 0. So we have these graphs meeting at 0, 6 and minus 6, 0. So let's check this one. Is 0 squared plus 6 squared 36? Yes. Is minus 6 squared, a minus and a minus is 36. Sorry, minus and a minus is a plus, so this must be 36. Plus 0 squared is 36. So I know everything here is correct. That's what we call simultaneous equations.